we made a People's Mining Charter and issued to the Department of Mineral Resources to say this is what we want to see in the mining charter. Unfortunately, all those efforts, there was nothing in that mining charter. And what we did is we took the matter to court to say we must be part of the formulation of the mining charter because we are the one who are affected. We are the one who wants to know what must the charter have. And we managed to talk in 2019, February, the court order came out and saying, yes, we have the right to be part of the formulation of the charter. But unfortunately, as you know, whether there was an order from the court, but they did not include us in formulation of the charter. So the charter, what is here, is not what we really want. It's not benefiting us a little. Even if there is that little that is there, there's no implementation at all. Nothing is happening. It's just a document that's written and put it there on the desk. So we're still having benefited nothing out of the charter.
Yes, I mean at a micro level, the mining charter was meant to improve the living conditions of mine workers, besides getting into the management and ownership or equity of mines as well. So what are your implementation guidelines that you feel have been ignored so far?
Like I indicated, government, they don't own these minerals. They're just custodians. So whatever they engage in, they cannot just do things for us without us. You know, that's why our slogan states very well, nothing about us without us. They should engage us to say, when you talk to the investors, when you talk to businesses, investors, we need you to be part of that conference so that we can state what you want. Because we are talking about our own minerals, not them talking for us what we don't want. You cannot buy for me, you cannot build a stadium when I want a clinic. So it's very important that you engage with me. So what we did is obviously in the mine, we make sure that there's something what we call social and labor plan that have obligations for the mines that are being hosted by this committee to make sure that they address the historically disadvantaged people. But unfortunately, even with those documents, the mine are not complying. Still, we find ourselves having to fight for those obligations for the mines to get benefits.
Yeah, but aren't you putting the cart before the horse in the sense that the ones that have obtained a mining license and have been operating historically for generations, and you come in as a community with your concerns, investors and shareholders want their investments or return on their investments and couldn't potentially care about the impact of mining in the community. What are you putting on the table? What pressure are you going to exert on the Minerals and Energy Ministry for you to be heard?
Yeah, you see what happened is the licenses that you're talking about are owned by the Global North, by the Western people. Very few people are having licenses. The rightful owners of the South Africans are not, very few are owning licenses. In fact, they are just those people who are politically connected, who are shareholders. Communities are suffering. They see inequality, poverty in those areas. So what we are saying is that people should be make decisions that will be able to be implemented. And the investors that you are talking about, those people have been here in South Africa, in Africa for a long time. And what they did is they looted minerals. They are just invading the land and looting minerals, and we benefit nothing out of those people. So having them to have conferences with the minister being the keynote speaker without any community to say we have benefited from this thing and nothing that has been happening. So what will happen is that we gave the Department of Minerals our report of showing that is how the mines, the so-called investors, have failed to give back to the community. And the MRE, you should, as a regulator, to make sure these people comply so that communities can benefit. But still, the regulator is failing to do exactly that. He's saying it doesn't have capacity to regulate all those things. And now they are having this conference. They're putting him as a keynote speaker because they know that it has done good for them. But you should be saying we're having an energy conference and we are having communities to reflect of how they benefited on those things. But they're not including us because there's nothing that we have benefited.
All right, so what else do you have at your disposal, again, in driving the transformation agenda for an egalitarian society that can share in the wealth of the country, besides the memoranda or, engagement that you've had with government? You spoke a little bit about litigation. What else are you going to do now as a strategic objective to make sure that your voices are heard?
Well, what we have done is we have been to union building and gave about 50,000 signatures talking about free, prior, and informed consent, which talks to say that we need a platform where we can engage with the DMRE. We have been engaging with Portfolio Committee for Minerals and Resources to say we need to be part and parcel of decision making so that we can have our views being heard. But at the moment, even if we have something on the table, who do we really talk to? Because nobody's giving the platform to put those things on. That's why we end up having protesting and marching and all those things. But if we can be given a platform to say this is what we really want. I mean, we have, like we have spoken, a social and labor plan, which is they talk about skill development, which they talk about bursaries, they talk about how to build infrastructure, and those things will be obviously creating employment. But unfortunately, the platform is not available. But those are the laws that are there, but nobody is complying. And how do you really now have to prove that we've been trying to, engage them, and these are the things that we have benefited. Open up the platform, engage us, sit down with us and say what is it that we want. We should be in this energy conference and be able to reflect what we have benefited. But they're not engaging us because we've benefited nothing.
We're going to have to leave it there, and thank you again for your time this morning. We're speaking to Meshack Mbangula, the National Coordinator of Mining Affected Communities United in Action, talking about the mining indaba that will be taking place in Kimberley, they say, and lament the fact that the mining affected communities have been excluded deliberately so by the corrupt elite minority, as he said. But it's something that will follow on for them as well.